This was the game we have been waiting for from Aliyah Boston. Right in A'ja Wilson's face. We believe Aliyah Boston is capable. When she gets fired up, when she gets motivated, she is capable.
A'ja Wilson dropped 31 points, but somehow it wasn't enough. Why? Because Aliyah Boston completely flipped the script in Game 4, dominating inside the paint in a way Vegas couldn't solve.
The Fever just forced Game 5. Going back to Las Vegas, she showed up and she showed out. This was nice. This was a nice watch today. It was a fun watch.
Wilson's frustration boiled over because every time she touched the ball, Boston was there, forcing her out of rhythm. So the question is, how did Boston manage to neutralize one of the best scorers in the league? And why did it make Wilson snap in the biggest game yet? Let's break down that insane turn of events. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video.
Aliyah Boston, where have you been? This is it. This is what you are capable of. 14 boards, 5 assists, and 2 blocked shots. 7 of 15, 33 minutes, 24 points.
You'd think seeing A'ja Wilson score 31 points would mean she owned the floor, right? But that's the trap. Because when Aliyah Boston got rolling, those numbers from Wilson stopped meaning what they usually do. Boston didn't just show up. She redefined the paint in a way that made Vegas look like they were searching for answers they didn't have. Forget the highlight numbers for a second, and just watch how Boston sealed defenders so deep under the rim that the Aces had no choice but to bring extra help. She wasn't rushing her moves either. She kept her balance, waited for doubles, and then punished them with passes that got her teammates scoring looks.
Fever fans were chanting MVP to Kelsey Mitchell right in front of A'ja Wilson. A'ja Wilson, 31 points, 14 of 24, 9 rebounds, 3 assists. It was beautiful. It really was. Way to go.
That forced the Aces' defense into total breakdowns, and once Indiana saw that weakness, they never let go. Now think about it. Wilson is at her best when she can stake her space right near that elbow or low block, go to work, and then finish how she wants. In this game, though, she kept getting pushed further and further away from her comfort zones. Boston's body was leaning on her all night, taking bumps, and making those angles disappear. Every time Wilson tried to back down, she had to settle 2 or 3 steps away from her sweet spots. Those little shifts don't show up in a box score, but you could see it all over Wilson's face, shaking her head when shots rimmed out, throwing her hands up at referees, and at one point, just standing hands on hips near the baseline like she had no easy answer. That's not something you usually see from her.
No matter how much people want to talk about defense, that's great. She's been almost non-existent on the offensive end. Is not producing the way we believe that she should be producing for the amount of minutes that she is playing.
And it told the story more than her buckets did. Boston, on the other hand, filled up her own stat sheet with 24 points, 14 rebounds, and 5 assists. That wasn't empty production either. Each board she pulled down gave the Fever another possession, and those dimes weren't just routine passes. They came when Vegas collapsed in desperation. Suddenly, instead of one post defender dealing with Boston, you had rotations pulling defenders out of position, and that gave Kelsey Mitchell wide open lanes to score and Christy Wallace the confidence to attack.
Which means it can't always be Kelsey Mitchell. Odyssey Sims actually was efficient shooting the ball tonight. Kelsey Mitchell, 38 minutes, 9 of 20, 25 points, 4 assists, 3 boards.
Grace Hall's defensive activity only piled on, forcing Vegas to scramble again after Boston created the initial problem. It was like Boston became the magnet pulling every Vegas player into her orbit, and then her teammates just cashed in on the extra space. And don't forget the rebound margin. That stat was brutal for Vegas. Indiana grabbed 34 boards compared to the Aces' 22. That changed everything because normally the Aces thrive by running off misses, but when you're not getting those misses, the pace slows, and it starts to feel like you're playing Boston's game instead of your own.
Sports fans get ruthless. This was a big, huge win. 6 of 9, 18 points. Lexi Hull, 7 points. She added in. That's how it's done. That's how sports fans do it.
Each rebound she secured was another mental punch for the Aces, because it meant another chance for Indiana and another grinded-out possession Wilson had to defend. You saw it in the way Becky Hammond looked on the sidelines, too. She didn't have much to say post-game, because really, what do you explain when the stat line already laid it out?
Right in A'ja Wilson's face with the MVP chant. It is going back to Vegas.
One possession summed it up perfectly. Wilson had position near the mid-post, something she usually turns into a clean lefty finish. But Boston leaned into her, shoved her just enough without fouling, and suddenly Wilson had no angle. She got forced toward the baseline, spun back, and ended up chucking a tough fadeaway jumper. That's not her shot. That's desperation. It clanged off the rim, and you could almost hear the sigh before the camera zoomed in on her face. That one play was the visual of Boston breaking Wilson's rhythm. It wasn't just defense, it was Boston rewriting Wilson's decision-making in real time. So no, this game wasn't about whistles or Vegas not getting calls. It wasn't about fluke shooting either. It was Boston putting her stamp on the interior and showing that her presence alone forces a team like Vegas to bend.
This was with 1:05 left, and this one brought the house down. Aliyah Boston right here.
Every point she scored, every rebound she pulled, it all chipped away until Wilson's frustration became the loudest thing on the court. If Boston was the hammer, then Wilson's reaction was the loud crack in the Aces' armor that told you this matchup wasn't being played on her terms anymore. Wilson's meltdown wasn't about the Aces suddenly forgetting how to play. It was Boston showing that even the best can look ordinary when someone takes away their comfort zone. That's the real story.
If the WNBA wants to grow, a little word of advice. Quit showing games on NFL Sunday. Game 5, gonna be a big one, no doubt about it. If you want to maximize bringing in actual sports fans, get away from the NFL.
One player controlling the paint so completely that it made Wilson not just work harder, but lose her composure. Now I want to know what you think. Was this the true beginning of Indiana's rise, or just a single game disruption before things reset in Game 5? Because dominance is never just about the numbers. It's about one player flipping another's emotions inside out.